Why do we yawn? Science still doesn't have a complete answer. You can resist blinking for a while. You can hold your breath for a minute or two. But sooner or later, everyone yawns. In fact, simply hearing the word yawn can make you want to do it. That's strange enough on its own. What's even stranger is that scientists still can't fully explain why it happens. We live in a world where we can photograph black holes and edit genes, yet one of the most familiar things our bodies do every single day remains partly unsolved. So what is a yawn really for? For centuries, people thought they already had the answer. Ancient Greek physicians believed yawning helped remove bad air from the body. Later, that idea evolved into a theory that almost everyone has heard. We yawn because our brains need more oxygen. It made perfect sense. When you're tired, your breathing becomes slower and shallower. A yawn is one long, deep breath. More air should mean more oxygen, and more oxygen should wake you up. There was only one problem. When scientists finally tested the idea, it didn't hold up. Researchers asked volunteers to breathe more oxygen-rich air. Then they increased the amount of carbon dioxide in the air they breathed. If yawning was caused by a lack of oxygen, those changes should have dramatically affected how often people yawned. They didn't. Whether people breathed more oxygen or less, they yawned at almost exactly the same rate. One of the oldest explanations had survived for centuries simply because it sounded reasonable, not because it was true. That raised an even bigger question. If yawning isn't about oxygen, why has evolution kept it around for hundreds of millions of years? The mystery becomes even harder to ignore when you realize humans aren't the only animals that yawn. Dogs yawn, cats yawn, lions yawn, birds yawn, snakes yawn. Even some fish perform movements that closely resemble yawning. Human babies begin yawning before they're even born, while they're still developing inside the womb. That means yawning appeared long before language, civilization, and perhaps even before mammals first walked the earth. A behavior this ancient almost certainly serves a purpose. The challenge is figuring out what that purpose is. One of the strongest modern ideas has nothing to do with breathing at all. Instead, it focuses on temperature. Like any powerful machine, your brain produces heat while it works. And just like a computer runs best when it stays cool, your brain performs most efficiently within a narrow temperature range. Some researchers think a yawn acts like a tiny cooling system. As you inhale deeply, cooler air enters your mouth and upper airways. At the same time, the muscles in your face and jaw stretch, increasing blood flow around the head. Together, these changes may help carry a small amount of heat away from the brain. Several experiments support this idea. Scientists have found that yawns often happen shortly after brain temperature rises slightly, and in some studies, that temperature drops a little after the yawn ends. It's an elegant explanation, but it isn't the whole story. People also yawn in situations where brain temperature alone doesn't seem to explain what's happening. Think about the moments you usually yawn: just before falling asleep, right after waking up, waiting to give a speech, standing at the starting line before a race. Even professional athletes have been caught yawning moments before major competitions. None of these situations have much in common, except one. They're all moments of transition. Your brain is preparing to switch from one state to another, from sleepy to alert, from relaxed to focused, or from calm to intense concentration. Some scientists believe yawning helps the brain make those transitions more smoothly, almost like rebooting a computer before an important task. That idea explains something many people misunderstand. Yawning isn't always a sign that you're tired. Sometimes it's a sign that your brain is getting ready. As researchers looked even deeper, they discovered another intriguing clue. Brain scans suggest that yawning may briefly influence blood flow and the movement of cerebrospinal fluid, the clear liquid that surrounds and protects the brain and spinal cord. Scientists are still investigating exactly what this means, and the evidence is still developing. But if future research confirms these findings, yawning could play a role in keeping the brain functioning efficiently in ways we don't yet fully understand. The deeper scientists look, the more complicated the mystery becomes. Then there's the strangest part of all: contagious yawning. Someone across the room yawns. A few seconds later, you do too. Sometimes all it takes is a photograph, a video. Even reading about yawning can trigger the same reaction. If you've had to suppress a yawn while listening to this story, you're far from alone. Why would evolution create a reflex that spreads from one individual to another? One possibility is that contagious yawning helped social groups stay synchronized. If everyone became alert or rested at roughly the same time, the group might function more effectively. Another idea is that contagious yawning is linked to social attention or familiarity. Studies have explored whether empathy plays a role, but the evidence is mixed. Whatever the explanation, scientists agree on one thing: contagious yawning is real. Its purpose is still uncertain, and perhaps that's the biggest lesson hidden inside this ordinary behavior. We often imagine science as the search for distant planets or mysterious particles deep inside atoms. But some of the greatest mysteries aren't hidden in space or the bottom of the ocean. They're hidden in the habits we barely notice. A yawn lasts only a few seconds, yet inside that brief movement is a puzzle that stretches back hundreds of millions of years, connects us with countless other species, and reminds us that even the most familiar parts of everyday life can still challenge modern science. The next time you catch yourself yawning, don't think of it as a sign of boredom. Think of it as a message from an ancient biological system, one that scientists are still trying to understand, and one that proves the ordinary world is often far more mysterious than it first appears.